Hello, this is Dave with the No Name Show. It's called the No Name Show because we haven't figured out what we're going to call it yet, so we're sort of in that process. But, for now, it's the No Name Show. You can call me Dave, for sake of posterity, that's what you can refer to me as. This podcast / talk show is mostly going to be about, people who are in post-breakup situation or about to be broken up with, or are sort of dealing with the anxieties of being broken up with. Now, that's not exclusively what we're going to talk about, but for the most part, that's basically what you're going to be getting in terms of, what you should be expecting. We're going to have people eventually, when we have a big enough community, call in, ask questions, sort of just give advice on how to deal with relationships. Now, I'm not an expert. I'm just some guy who has picked up a mic and has decided to share my own experiences with people who might be going through a situation and need something like this. And, I'm doing this because I've learned from other people who, when I was in that situation, also had put out content in order to help me deal with my situation. So it's sort of like me realizing that, okay, look, there are still people out there who probably might not run into Rory, with the love chat or the dating guy or Craig Kenneth, So I'm sort of putting myself in a situation where, like, if you discover me, I can direct you to those guys because those guys have incredible content and they practically saved, I'd say they saved my life, but I'd be taking it too far. But literally, they helped me go through a very difficult time, with my post-breakup. So, hopefully I will be sharing a lot of their content and at some point I hope to collaborate with one of them. But, that's mostly besides the point. Today's topic basically is going to be, about choosing yourself in a breakup, choosing yourself while you're experiencing the breakup. Now, why I say you have to choose yourself, or why I'm pointing to the fact that you have to choose yourself during, before, and while like the breakup is actively happening, is because we indirectly choose ourselves, but we directly don't. Now, let me explain. When someone breaks up with you and, you're blindsided by it, your first response is to, beg, plead, and say, okay, no, look, I give anything for you, I'm choosing you. But then you're not choosing them. You're only choosing them because, they've put you in a position where your ego has been bruised, not even just bruised, has been taken down a peg, and you're feeling this anxiety and this knot in your in your stomach that just can't seem to go away, and you're experiencing the whirlwind of emotions and your whole world is crumbling and everything. So that is in the reason why you're saying you want this person back is because they've put you in that position and you want to do anything and everything to get that feeling away. So indirectly you're choosing yourself, but directly you assume that you're choosing them because you think to yourself, I'm willing to give anything for this person. Why doesn't this person still want to be with me? Now, what I mean by choosing yourself is actually deliberately choosing yourself. Now, when someone says, I no longer want to be with you, or I don't think this is going in the direction I want it to, or whatever, you need to look at it and say, okay, do you know what? I accept what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I accept it because I cannot impose my own position on you. And you have thought about every single thing surrounding this situation that we're in, and you feel like the best, option and position for you is to be out of it. So I can't argue with that because it seems like you've made up your mind. Now, personally, I don't agree with it, and I feel like we can work on it. But if this is the position you're choosing, it's fine. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to push. I hope we can actually resolve the issues. But if we can't, I wish you the best of luck. And after you say that to the person, you disappear. Literally, you vanish off the face of the earth. Let it seem like you don't exist anymore as far as that person is concerned. Now, you're not doing it because understand me. Yes, it's called no contact. And I'm sure, if you've been around the block on YouTube, you've probably heard about it. But, the way some of these coaches push it isn't necessarily the healthy way. Now, the reason why you're doing no contact is not because you're trying to get that person to miss you or get that person to, realize, oh, I don't have this person anymore. I know you want that more than anything, but that's not your primary reason. If that's your primary reason for no contact, I'm sorry to tell you, you are still very much obsessed with that person and you are not taking the time to actually heal. You're not taking advantage of the opportunity you have to actually heal and grow from this breakup. So if you're still doing that, first thing you should do is stop and refocus. Now, the reason why you do no contact is because you want to start to focus on yourself as soon as possible. That is what it means to choose yourself. You want to start to focus on your recovery as quickly as possible. Usually when, a player gets injured and taken out from the game, because of the fact that they understand that, look, in order for them to get their spot back, they have to be the best versions of themselves. They go into therapy almost immediately after maybe surgery or whatever it is, because they have to work on themselves to get back to that A game. That's basically what you are. Picture yourself as an athlete who has been sidelined by an injury, and in order for you to make it back to the first 11, you have to work on yourself. Forget what everybody else is saying. Just focus on yourself. Now, what happens when you do that? It's not just because you want to get your ex back. That's not the primary reason, but it's because of the fact that it will improve the quality of your life. It will improve the quality of how you deal with things, and it will help you learn to be alone. It will help you learn to be confident, to self-validate. Now, don't get me wrong. When you're doing these things and you're making these improvements to yourself, you think, it's not working on your ex. It is. Like, that one I can guarantee. No matter who your ex is, no matter if their heart is made of stone, it's definitely working on them. I can tell you from personal experience. I can tell you from the experience of my own people. Like, forget it. Just forget about it. Like, don't even think about it. Just focus on yourself. And by choosing yourself, what you're doing is you're improving. You're working. You're working out. You're going to the gym. You're reading books. You're taking therapy, listening to coaches, even coaching other people. Now, the proper way to do no contact is to try as much as possible not to, give away any information about, how you're feeling to the other person who has broken up with you. Now, you can talk to therapists, talk to friends, but you also need to be careful with the friends you talk to. Mutual friends, no matter how much you think they're on your side, it's never really a good idea to share these things with them, because it will always, trust me, it will always find their way back to them. It will always find their way back to them. I'm speaking for personal experience. It will always find their way back to them. So, removing yourself from that environment that is causing you anxiety, which is that person, helps you sort of, step out and see. So it's not just about you working on yourself. It's also about you seeing some of the things you did wrong in the relationship, and you're thinking, maybe I should have done this differently. Maybe I should have acted like this. Maybe I should have done this. I think, I definitely messed up here, and I have to definitely improve here. So it gives you perspective. You become like Plato, Socrates, and you're pondering, the cosmos and dying stars, and how you have stars probably 100 times the mass of the sun. And it's to a certain extent, you start to, get clarity after a while. Now, for the first 3 months, it depends on how you get over things quickly. You might still feel like crap. And the truth is, but you would notice an incremental improvement. Speaking from personal experience, I know it took me properly a year to be completely over my ex. Now, when I say a year, it doesn't mean that was when I was like, I was still... What I mean is, in 6 months, I was feeling perfectly okay. But I would still have occasional days where certain things will happen, and then I would feel this, punch in the gut, like, if this person was here, it would have probably happened differently. Those little moments like that. But as time went on, it became more scarce, and less, sort of active, or less. It happened less, basically. And, in that 1 year, or by that 1 year, I realized that I would find myself laughing at the way I acted in certain situations. But the one thing I kept echoing was, it had to happen, it had to happen, it had to happen. And my own experience with my ex, what I learned from, doing no contact and not being in contact with them was this. There was a period where, like, towards the, after like the first 3 months that happened, where I'd get strange phone calls from, her at awkward times. We're talking about just asking very weird or random normal questions, things that you could possibly just get someone else to do. And I remember being reached out to about 3 times at some point. Not like 3 times within a time frame where we were sort of within the same vicinity, because we sort of were in the same college. So the first time I got reached out to, it didn't really go very well. Not for me, but for her, because I remember, she started talking, and the words that were coming out of her mouth sounded like she was still very much in the same place where I had left, because I could tell that it seemed like it was fresh. Like, that, you can tell when somebody hasn't gotten over something. And she kept on talking to me and got angry and walked off. That was the first time. The second time was, after that, she called again. And I was like, okay, I don't want there to be any bad blood between us. Can we sit and talk? And I remember, going there, sitting next to her, and she started talking. And I was like, okay, it's being reasonable and everything. And it's like, oh, I don't want there to be any issues between us. I want us to be able to reconcile, like, well enough, and at least be friends and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact words. I might be butchering the story in that aspect in terms of our exact words. But I know she now started proceeding to talk. And she started talking again the way she was the first time she called me to talk, which was, it sounded like the whole situation was fresh and she hadn't gotten over it. And for some very ridiculous reason, I started to laugh. And the more she kept on talking, the more I kept laughing. And the more she kept on talking, the more I kept laughing. And she got infuriated at the fact that I was laughing. And I wasn't laughing because I thought it was funny. What she was saying was funny, because she was being serious. But I was laughing because, I had come to the realization that with everything I have had to work on, go through, listen to, and work on myself just to get over this thing, this person who I'm trying to, who I've actually made strides to get over, is still very much in that first place where she was when the whole thing happened. And I'm thinking to myself, like, haven't you gained any sort of perspective? Is there no level of... And I understood something. I realized that because she was a dumper, she didn't have to go through all the phases of, grief. Denial, acceptance, bargaining, and then, denial, bargaining, acceptance, I think. Yeah, well, I think I have the stages a bit iffy, but there's a process, and I think in the next video I'll probably address those, to sort of save this blonde that I just made. But that's besides the point. She hadn't gone through any of the phases. It sounded like she was still very much in it, and it wasn't just about her being very much in it. There was a sense of entitlement in the way she spoke. So I just kept on laughing, and once again she got angry and walked away. And then I got a call from another friend, a mutual friend of hers, and we're talking, and then she basically tried to call me out for laughing at the fact that I was like, why would I laugh? She was being serious and all that. And again, it just sounded ridiculous in my head, but I'm just giving you a perspective of my own story. And as time goes by, I will give you different phases I experience, and how you can react to those things and be able to deal with them. But it just goes to show you that the dumper that you think knows everything and is confident in their ability and trust me, they are not. In fact, you are learning more and you're gaining more from the experience than they are, because it would take them a long time to gain perspective. And once they gain that perspective, what happens is the phases you've gone through as a dumpee, from the beginning, they now start to experience it. And that's when they now start to reach out or try to be friends. And this story doesn't end. My story doesn't end here. There are like a bunch of them that happen, afterwards, which, again, as the series goes on, I will share them as examples. But the bottom line is this: choose yourself first when you're being broken up with or when you find yourself in a situation. Go no contact because you want to work on yourself. Go no contact because you want to focus on yourself. And trust me, it will be the best decision you would ever make. Right now, it doesn't seem like that. And you're like, whoa, but if I don't talk to this person, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. And trust me, it's extremely accurate. There is no lie there. You understand at the point where, you start to grow out of it and the person starts to reach out. So, again, like I said, if you love this, if you enjoyed this talk, this little talk, then hit the subscribe button or, notification, even if you don't want to subscribe. I'm really not going to force you to do that. And, just if you're feeling down in a certain situation where you're feeling down and numb, you can always replay this and, listen. I would also recommend you listen to the love chats, self-love and learning to be alone. I will also recommend you listen to The Dating Guy, on YouTube, and just find these people and see if you can listen to some of the content they've produced, because it's incredibly awesome. It helped me through my entire process, and I recommend them for you. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon.